Battle of Verdun by Pierre-Louis. First, background information. The Battle of Verdun was the longest single battle fought in World War I and also was part of the Schlieffen Plan, which was later to fail because of this battle. Here's some mapping to get a reference point to where the battle was fought. This red dot is Verdun, and the red line with the arrows represents the troops and the border they had reset because they had made their way across the French border. The blue lines are the reinforcements that the Germans made their way around to go through Luxembourg and Belgium. And also another reference point is right here is the Battle of Marne, just to get a reference for the future information I'm about to give you. All right, here are important dates for the beginning and the end of the Battle of Verdun. It started February 21st in 1916 and ended December 16th in 1916. This was about 300 days and almost 10 months. This was very long compared to other battles in World War I. There are three important names that were or characters involved in this battle, and their leadership greatly affected the way the battle was fought. First, the German general Erich von Falkenhayn was the commander-in-chief of all German armies. He was very skilled, had helped Chinese armies, and had traveled to different countries for experience, and then later made his way back to Germany to be nominated as the general, and then to lead all German troops through World War I. He was very cautious and was but planned his attacking very well. But as well, he had an ego that went against him. He underestimated the French and Russia for his Schlieffen Plan. Next was General Philippe Pétain, and so he was the leader of the French defense of Verdun, and he played a major role in how the Battle of Verdun was fought. But then, at the same time, he didn't have full leadership because he looked up to the next character I'm about to introduce. And later, he was nominated as the successor for the Battle of Verdun. So Pétain looked up to General Joseph Jacques César Joffre, which was the commander-in-chief of all French armies during the Battle of Verdun, and so he later was also nominated as victor of Battle of the Marne, and he had the largest effect on all armies and Philippe Pétain. Next up, the battle. So first, what was the mentality behind the Battle of Verdun? So, General Erich von Falkenhayn felt that their biggest threat was England, meaning that the land that they wanted to take over the most was England, and so a way to get to England was by invading France, and that would weaken the Western Front, meaning that they could take over England more easily. Again, adding to their plan of invasion on the Western Front. So the way they would take over France would go against a very important piece of land, which was Verdun, very historically precious to the French, and they would attack Verdun very, very harshly, and the French would overcompensate to keep the land, and it would wear the French out in a way to where it was easier for them to take over the whole country. Actually, why this was such a weak plan is because it underestimated really the efforts of the French, and then as well as Belgium was invaded, even though it was neutral, this would cause England to join in and to take the stress off of the German stress off of France, and all the whole involvement to work with France, and fight against Germans. So there were some. There were some. The Falkenhayn underestimated the French troops, which would later gain great size due to England. Also, what led up to the Battle of Verdun? So right before this was the Battle of Marne, which brought trench warfare, which is a new type of warfare where they would dig trenches on both fronts, and they would fight each other from underground with artillery and many new technologies, and it worked against getting land. So this is why the Battle of Verdun took so long, and then also involved the failure of the Schlieffen Plan, which also because of how long all these battles took. The Schlieffen Plan was supposed to be rapid, but because of how good the French was at fighting, it took much longer, and this was one of the first battles to be fought after the failure of the Schlieffen Plan. Additionally, the involvement of England and its troops, such as South Africa, Canada, and India, they all joined in to fight against Germans because they were part of England. As well, the whole German invasion with Luxembourg and Belgium, all of that caused great conflict, and therefore the Battle of Verdun. All right, during the battle, the French went into Verdun too quickly, basically overcompensating as planned, and their trenches were not as prepared as the Germans was. And again, Falkenhayn's plan was weakened because it was underestimating. So while the French did have weak trenches, all of their support, which was mild at this point, was still great enough to slow down the advancements that were planned, weakening his plan. And so like I mentioned before, trench warfare worked against territorial changes, basically, because trenches were more kind of established lines, and including no man's land, where fighting was very slow, basically, because nobody wanted to go and just go into no man's land. And then the way it ended was that because the bloodshed was so extensive and it was so long, the battle ended in a stalemate, right, which is a very awful outcome. And so some of the details and numbers were that there were 140,000 German troops, 2,500,000 shells at the Verdun region. So again, this is bringing on shell shocking and all the terror from trench warfare. And then there are about 200 planes which were involved in the battle, which is a very new concept and did not add to the battle very well, but was very interesting. And so, as a result of the battle, there were many casualties, a total of almost 720,000 total. And then it also led up to the Battle of the Somme, which is where France gained very much strength, and then used this to invade back into German lines and push them back. So this battle took a large effect on French army, and was the German invasion was such a stress to the rest of Europe that the British colonies got involved even more, causing a massive support, and why the Triple Alliance in the end won. Here are my sources.